Welcome to Great Bear Island. The devs go out of their way to insist that the Long Dark is not realistic, so I'll just say it's the least unrealistic survival game I've ever played. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've played this game, and I've never played the Tales from the Far Territory expansion, so I'm pretty excited to see what's new. There are 5 difficulty options for survival mode. Pilgrim is the easiest and is the best mode for players who haven't played many games with first-person controls. Voyager is good for people who have played games before but are new to the Long Dark. Stalker is for players familiar with the Long Dark's mechanics who are looking for a greater challenge. And Interloper is for players who have not only mastered the mechanics of the game, but have also learned most of the maps. Now, since the last time I played, they've added a new difficulty even harder than Interloper, called Misery, which I assume matches its name. I'm out of practice and this is new content to me, so Misery would just be insane and unfair. I do have some experience playing Interloper, but since it's been so long, maybe Stalker would be more appropriate? Misery it is. For those unfamiliar with the Long Dark, it takes place in northern Canada on the fictional island of Great Bear. The premise is that an extreme geomagnetic event has disabled all electric devices in the area, including on your plane, causing it to crash, which leaves you alone and fending for yourself in this remote region. The game's primary survival mechanics are the 4 meters in the bottom left, representing hunger, thirst, exhaustion level, and cold. When any of these are depleted, it starts draining your condition, which is effectively your health. You might notice the cold meter is draining very quickly. That's because of the difficulty level, which we'll discuss later. First, let's talk about the goal of the challenge, which is simple. After not playing for so long, I have to survive for 60 days on Misery. That doesn't mean 60 literal days of playing. Time passes 6 times as quickly in-game, plus it skips forward when you take certain actions like sleeping or crafting. But still, this simple goal will be anything but simple to achieve. Let's see just how miserable this new difficulty can be. The first thing to note is I've spawned with little to no gear, granting a total warmth bonus of only 3 degrees and having no way to start a fire. So it's not long before I'm freezing cold and losing health. I need to get to warm shelter as soon as possible. After gathering what useful plants I can in this starting area, I decide to head for the Pleasant Valley Farmhouse, one of the better known shelters in the game. You can see I'm now risking frostbite. This is what happens if you don't wear a hat to cover your ears or gloves to cover your hands. I have neither. If the risk progresses into full-blown frostbite, I'll suffer a permanent reduction to my maximum health. I really don't want that. I start moving along the frozen river towards the farmhouse. Here you can see what I meant when I said you have to know the maps for this difficulty. You get cold so fast, you have to know exactly where you're going. Now, if I'm not forgetting, after going under this bridge, I want to go up the riverbank on the right. If the farmhouse doesn't come into view here, then it means I'm lost, and, well, I guess it's been a good run. Whoa, look right there. It's kind of blurry, but that is a wolf. With so little protective clothing, a wolf is a major threat even on lower difficulties. On Misery, well, I'm just glad it's not between me and the farmhouse. And so I stumble into shelter, freezing, damaged, with a hungry wolf somewhere behind me. This is the Long Dark. Oh, thank goodness, it's warm enough in here that I'm no longer freezing to death. This is the first location where we're likely to find a bunch of useful items, starting with this flower, which is a new item I have no idea how to use, but I guess I'll take it. The first thing I'm looking for is matches. You do not survive long in this game without fire. Back when I used to play, you could always find matches here under a shelf in the basement. Right here, and there's nothing. It's misery mode. The game hates me. Well, let's see what else we can find here. Salt, huh? Must be another cooking ingredient I don't understand. Well, I'll take it. There's a pretty intricate tech tree you advance through in this difficulty to get the warmest clothing. So I'm hoping to find the tools that will let me kick it off. The heavy hammer and the hacksaw. Unfortunately, I find neither, though I do find a source of fresh water. I really hope I'm getting this water out of the tank and not the bowl. By the fireplace, I find a book, some charcoal, and... Wait a minute, are those matches?
That'll come in handy.
This is big. Matches are arguably the most important item in the game because they let you start a fire. However, I decide not to start one right now. I can warm up in here without a fire, so I decide to save my matches, since I only have 12. My general rule of thumb is to try to limit myself to 1 match per day. While warming up, I busy myself tearing down some curtains for the cloth, and crafting a few bandages, just in case. Soon, I'm ready to head out. In order to progress, I'll need to set up a base not too far from a forge, and that means I have two basic options of where to head next. I can either travel to the region of Coastal Highway, which is close to a forge in Desolation Point, or I can travel to the region of Mystery Lake, which is close to a forge in Forlorn Muskeg. I decide I'll go to Mystery Lake. The lake's camp office will make a great main base since it's so centrally located, but it will take a couple days to get there. The way The Long Dark has you constantly making decisions that will affect the way the rest of the game unfolds is what makes it truly a masterpiece in my mind. Ooh boy, look over there. That is a black bear. If you thought the wolf was bad, we really want to avoid this. Good thing it's far away and not headed in our direction. This small barn is colder than the farmhouse, so I decide it's time to light my very first fire. 80% chance of success. Here's hoping we don't waste a match. I had hoped to catch some rabbits outside this barn and cook them here, but I couldn't find any. Maybe they changed the spawn locations. All right.
Well, thank goodness for that.
We throw on some sticks and start some snow melting while we look around for loot. Unfortunately, all we find is some firewood and, up in the rafters, a corpse near a backpack with a tin of sardines. I'm surprised I haven't found any clothing yet. Items really are scarce in Misery. I prepare some of the rose hips I crafted and start brewing them into a tea. I don't care about the medicinal properties of this tea right now. I just need something to warm me up. I then move to one of the most important mechanics in this game, pulling torches from a fire. I can pull a torch out of this barrel, extinguish it, then save it in my backpack before pulling another. Torches have all sorts of uses. They make you a little warmer, they light up dark places, and most importantly, they let you bring fire from one place to another so you don't have to use a second match. After gathering everything I can from the fire, I take my last torch, drink my hot tea, and head back outside. The hot tea restores a bunch of my warmth meter and will make it drain half as quickly for a while. With the torch, it's actually not that cold outside, but the wind chill makes it a lot worse. I try to walk downwind of stones and slopes to block the wind from hitting me. This symbol at the top of the screen tells us that we're protected from the wind, which is why there's only one down arrow on our temperature. But as soon as we step out from the rocks, it turns into 3, draining way faster. You can see our torch is almost burnt out, but that's okay. All we have to do is light a new torch using our old one. Unfortunately, shortly after, the wind really kicks up and the torch blows out. Ah well. We navigate our way up this steep slope towards our next destination, the radio tower on the top of Signal Hill. I'm going carefully because sometimes there's a bear that wanders around these rocks. Not something you want to run into suddenly around a corner. There's a beautiful sunset as we approach the control hut, but I'm so cold I don't stop to enjoy the view, I just head inside. There's usually a lot of good stuff at this location, so I start looting while there's still light. I find a flare, replacement fuses, sardines, some tomato soup, ooh, coffee is nice, and my first item of found clothing. This isn't the warmest shirt, but it fills an empty slot and every bit helps. Cloth and a sewing kit are fantastic, some wires, and best of all, another box of matches. This is incredible luck. If I can stick to my 1 match a day rule, I now have enough to last over 3 weeks. At this point I'm getting pretty weighed down, so I look for some things to drop. I get rid of the radio parts and the sardines, which are in bad condition and I don't want to run a risk of food poisoning. Let's see, how much does this salt weigh? 10 kilograms! No wonder I'm so weighed down. If I had realized sooner, I would have left it at the farmhouse. As is, I'll leave it here and try to pick it up later. Finally, I use the cloth and sewing kit I've found to craft some improvised hand wraps. These will stop me from getting frostbite in my fingers. At this point, it's dark and I'm still cold, so I head to the beds here to go to sleep for the night. I drink some water before bed, trying hard not to think of the toilet it came from. Sleeping is the primary way you recover condition in this game, and the longer you sleep, the more you will recover per hour. Good night, everybody. The next morning, I craft an improvised head wrap to protect my ears from frostbite, then head outside to check the weather. Oh no, a morning blizzard. This is the worst possible weather for travel, with extreme cold, snow, and poor visibility. Going out in this would be near suicide, and really stupid. But there's not really much I can do in this hut either. Well, you're not watching this channel to see me play it safe, are you? I've got one thing going for me. Animals will not spawn in a blizzard, so I don't need to worry about running into wolves or bears. I just have to trust that I'll remember my way and not get turned around in this snow. This game has no compass or way to tell where you are on the map, so you must navigate by what you can see, which is precious little right now. You might notice I'm using starvation tactics here, which means I'm letting myself take some hunger damage in order to save food for later. Damage from hunger is so slow, it's easy to heal every night as long as you eat before you go to sleep. Cold damage from a blizzard, on the other hand... Wait, wasn't the snow blowing from directly behind me before? Did the wind turn or did I? I know I want to travel across the top of this high ground, so I need to make sure I don't start sloping downward. I'm looking for a place called Hilltop Cave. If I can find it, it's pretty straightforward to make my way to Mystery Lake from there. These boulders look familiar. Could the cave entrance be nearby? Success! I found the cave entrance and I rush inside. However, it's so cold that even in the cave I'm still freezing, so I quickly loot what I can and move on. The path from here is pretty easy to follow though. We go past the mushrooms outside the cave, then onto this hunter's blind, and finally down this hill to the cliff face where we should find our destination. We're looking for a connector cave which should be on top of this rock formation. I've taken some damage and my clothing is pretty wet, but I'm alive and ready to travel through this warm cave. Like many parts of the Long Dark, this cave is, well, dark, so we light a torch. This is hopefully our only match for the day. There's a lot of cairns, which are basically just Easter eggs, but there's something else here that's very valuable. Coal. The most efficient fuel source in the game, each lump of coal causes a fire to burn 20 degrees hotter. Compare that with a stick, which adds only 1 degree. On Interloper, the entire outdoor world gradually gets colder over the first 50 days, culminating in a 20-degree penalty on day 50. It makes the game kind of a fun race against time, as you rush to get better clothing items before it gets too freezing. On Misery, that 20-degree penalty is accelerated to apply by day 3, making warm fuel like coal extremely important. When I first read about this, I was kind of sad that it seemed to remove the time pressure aspect of the game. Then I found out it adds time pressure in a different way. With this. Diminished form is the first of several permanent uncurable afflictions that you get over the course of the first 48 days in Misery. I now have reduced carry weight, reduced stamina, and it's harder to fight off wolves. And believe it or not, this is the least severe of what this game is going to do to me. That's why it's so important to advance through the tech tree and get the best gear before I am too weak to survive without it. After warming up in the cave, I exit to Winding River. This is a sort of mini-region connecting Pleasant Valley and Mystery Lake. Here, I find my first rabbits. After so long away, I'm certain I'm a rusty shot, so I make sure to sneak up very close before throwing my rock. At this point, I could let the rabbit go, but there's no in-game benefit to doing so, other than that the only alternative is this. Sorry, little guy. I bag 2 rabbits, then bring them with me to a warm cave. The wind is really picking up at this point, so before my torch blows out, I want to light a fire and cook this rabbit meat. Remember, it's important not to waste matches, because they're extremely rare.
I think I can use this.
Well, on the plus side, I found a total of 36 matches at this point. On the other hand, I now look really dumb for talking about how hard they are to find. Did matches become more common in the last couple years? Anyway, I harvest the meat and hides from the rabbits, leaving the guts behind, since I'm worried the scent from the guts might attract too much attention from a wolf. In retrospect, I think this was a bit of a mistake. I'm using starvation tactics anyway, so the meat isn't that important. Plus, the wind died down while I was in here, so I could have just brought a torch and the rabbits to the next indoor area. Instead, I took so long harvesting and cooking in the cave that the wind had picked up again by the time I left, and it blew out my torch. Not a huge mistake, but even small ones can build up to catastrophic results on this difficulty. I approach the Carter Dam. You can see it in the distance. A wolf often spawns at the base of the dam, but it looks like there's not one there now. Man, I feel really dumb for not bringing that rabbit corpse with me. At least there's plenty of cattails to grab here. Cattails are incredibly useful. You can use the heads as tinder, and the stalks are edible and never spoil. A path up the cliff on the left side of the river takes me to the dam's emergency exit, but you can't actually get in from here. Ooh, scrap metal's nice, but I'll need a lot more of it, which is why I'm hoping for a hacksaw. The only entrance is on the other side of the river, which means we need to walk along this narrow ledge. Misery always runs in what most games call hardcore mode. If you die, your save is deleted, so a fall to the ice below means the end of the challenge. I stop for a moment to enjoy the view of the frozen river I've just hiked up. From here, we can see some of the path we took to get up the side of the cliff and onto the dam. This game has a lot of these views, and it's good to stop and appreciate them once in a while. After climbing a mound of snow to a broken window, I enter the Carter Hydroelectric Dam. It's pretty dark in here, even when the sun's out, so I light another torch, wincing as I use my second match of the day. I've arrived a lot later than I meant to, which is bad news. Not just because of the darkness, but because at night, geomagnetic auroras can cause the exposed wiring to become suddenly electrified, making it deadly. I'll be taking a few risks, but if you want to pass through here safely at night, then follow the rule that you don't touch any exposed red wires. So you can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Stop. Hammer time. This is great. I just got a crucial, hard-to-find tool that will allow me to advance my crafting. Shortly after, we find better shoes, a second hat, a holiday sweater, and work gloves. All this together adds a few degrees to our warmth bonus. I then find more fresh water. Wait, this toilet doesn't even have a tank. Gross. I think I'll just leave the water here. You know, in case I need it later. With most of the dam looted, I exit the other side into the region of Mystery Lake. It's dark and cold out here, and I'm very exhausted. But there are some trailers just ahead, and that's where I'm planning to sleep for the night. I enter the first trailer, and inside I find another sweater? Okay, on this difficulty, these sweaters are the best you can get for their slot. I've gone 100 days in Interloper without finding 2 of them. Either they've changed the loot tables or I have gotten incredibly lucky. Either way, I'll take it. I eat some of the food I found and drink a bunch of water so that I'll be able to heal during the night. At this difficulty, you go through your thirst meter in 10 hours, so that's how long I'm going to sleep. And when we wake up, we're mostly healed. So after topping off our vitals and leaving behind some things we don't need, I sneak out into pretty nice weather. I generally sneak when I'm going outside, just in case there's a wolf or other predator on the other side of the door, but it all looks clear now. You also might notice I've stopped using starvation tactics. This is because I've found enough food at this point that I'm ready to go for well-fed, a benefit that gives you extra carry weight and health if your hunger meter has not emptied for 3 full days. And those 3 days are starting now. Well, not now, last night when I ate before going to bed, but you know what I mean. As we start towards the camp office, we pass by a deer. We'd love to get the meat and hide from this buck, but don't have any means of hunting it right now. So we just let it run away into the distance.
Too much stuff to carry.
There are a few ways to get to the camp office from here. I'm choosing to go by... Whoa, there's a wolf over this ridge. That bark means it's already stalking us. With no sharp weapons, we don't have a great way of fighting it off. But we do have one option. Wolves are afraid of fire. I quickly pull a torch out of my backpack and light it with a match. A lit torch will cause a wolf to hesitate even if the torch is on the ground. Aiming any weapon at a stalking wolf, whether a firearm or stone, will cause it to immediately charge you. Aiming it again when they pause at the fire will cause it to get scared and run away. I'm now free to continue on my way, but then I stop with an idea. When the wolf got spooked, it ran behind me. Wasn't that the same direction the deer ran? Sure enough, in the distance, we see the wolf bring down the deer. The wolf is protective of its meal, but I've got a torch and a rock, so it's my meal now. And this carcass could not be in a better spot. These rocks shelter it from 2 sides, which means that a campfire is very unlikely to blow out, even if the wind does pick up. The only downside is that the weather is so cold, I need to use a piece of my precious coal to keep myself warm enough while I'm harvesting. Pretty soon I've got some meat cooking, some water boiling. What could possibly go? Oh no. I wasn't paying attention and my hunger ran out. That breaks the 3-day streak I needed for the well-fed bonus. Excuse me a moment. Ow, what were you thinking? You just had to eat a cattail or 2 and you'd be fine! Ugh. Well, a fundamental part of the experience in this game is living with your decisions, including your mistakes. Alright, I'm going for the 3 days well-fed bonus starting now. Now what's this stuff? Animal fat, huh? We didn't have this when I played. It looks like I can use this to make cooking oil? Well, once I have enough, I give it a try. By now it's getting dark. I've harvested the hide and a bunch of meat from this deer, but I don't think I have the time or the fuel to get everything. So as my fire runs low, I leave behind the guts and some meat, and head out again. I'm very overloaded at this point, so I'm taking a fairly direct route by traveling along the frozen river. This path avoids most of the wolf spawn locations, and it has a bunch of cattails we can pick up along the way. We are freezing cold by the time we reach Mystery Lake itself, and it started snowing, which obscures our vision as we make our way across the ice. I'm on the home stretch of my journey now when I hear it. A wolf has started stalking me, probably attracted by the smell of the deer meat I'm carrying. Between the darkness and the snow, I can barely make out where it's coming from, but I quickly drop my torch to scare it away. I better get moving before it comes back. Oh no, another one. I need to be really careful here. A torch will stop a wolf from approaching you, but if I walk right into one, it will still attack me. I scare away the second wolf, but hear a third one stalking me, and I can't see where it's coming from. In a panic, I point my rock in every direction, hoping to trick the wolf into thinking I'm aiming at it. It sounds like it fell for my bluff, and I make a mad dash for the camp office up ahead. Those wolves can smell the meat on me, so they will be back. Fortunately, I make it to the camp office before they reach me. We're arriving at what will be our main base for the rest of the run. Not exactly safe and sound, but at least we're in one piece. And so we end this episode in the same way we began it, stumbling into shelter, damaged, freezing, with a hungry wolf somewhere behind us. This is The Long Dark. Thanks for watching, everybody. We've survived 3 days so far and have 57 left to go. I hope to see you back for part 2 of the Long Dark Fresh Start Challenge.